Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. This is Rainer from Rainierbooks. It's time to sit on the balcony again. It's summer in Sweden, June the 30th, and what do I have for you tonight? I have a TBR because I was thinking about books that I want to read in July of this year. I will work 2 weeks in July, the first 2 weeks, and then I will have 2 weeks off. So what am I going to read in July? Let's talk about it. So the books that I'm reading, that I'm planning to read in July, the first one is this one, Dave Eggers' novel, The Avery. This is the logo of The Avery. The Avery is a book that plays a little bit in the future, I think maybe in the 2030s or the end of the 2020s. It is a book about a woman called Delaney, and for some reason she is trying to get a job at The Avery. The Avery is the biggest social media company in the world. They have sort of united everything. They develop dozens of apps that make our lives easier, more beautiful, and that can even measure and exactly figure out in which month you are going to die, and they are about to find out on which day you are going to die. That's a beautiful app that The Avery is providing for its users, and Delaney gets to The Avery in order to destroy The Avery. Why she wants to do that is not revealed yet. I'm about 70 pages in, and this is of course a very critical book by Dave Eggers about social media, about Meta, about Facebook and WhatsApp and all those companies, and like Google as well, who are trying to build a sort of monopole, who know so much about us and who want to better our lives, but who really also change our lives in a way that we might not want them to change. The Avery by Dave Eggers is a book about 500 pages long, 500 and 600 pages almost. This is the first book that I hope to finish in the month of July. The second one that I also started is a sequel. The mid-year book Freakout Tag has the question after the sequels. I actually haven't read a prequel, so I have not read a sequel. So I chose John Banville's novel April in Spain, and this is not really a sequel either, because it's a standalone book in the series of Canadian detective Dave Wakeland from Vancouver, British Columbia. This is Sam Wiebe's second novel, Cut You Down, published in 2019, and I got this book when I started the channel as a present from the Quiet Midden, a beautiful channel in Yukon, in the Yukon territories in Canada, in Whitehorse, Yukon, and I have a beautiful bookmark inside that book. It's not inside right now, but it's from a bookshop in Whitehorse where the Quiet Midden actually bought this book. So thanks again to the Quiet Midden. If you don't know the channel, it's a beautiful channel about nature life in Canada, in the Yukon territory, because they have a camera outside their home in the middle of nature where they have filmed bears and lynx and wolves and beautiful creatures of the north. Cut You Down, back to that book. Dave Wakeland is a great character. He reminds very much of the great detectives of American literature, of Raymond Chandler's Philip Marlowe, or of Ross MacDonald's Detective Lou Archer. He is living in our time in Vancouver, British Columbia, and he's portraying the city that I have visited in 2018 very, very well. It's a real Vancouver noir book, and great to read it again. It's about a girl, Tabitha Sorensen, who has disappeared, and a teacher of the university where Tabitha was a student comes to Dave Wakeland and tells him, please find Tabitha Sorensen. And now he's on the case. Let's see where that takes him and what's going to happen. He's always driving around Vancouver quite a bit, and you get to know many places inside the city. That's the second book that I want to read in July. I have great ambitions for July. Until now I've read like 25 books this year, and my goal was 60. I'm a little bit behind, like 3 books behind schedule, and I have very high ambitions for July now, so that should keep me in the pace for the 60 again. I'm going to read this book together with Katja Weinert from Katja Weinert, that's the name of her channel, which she suggested. Hwang Sok-yong is a very famous South Korean author, I believe. He was born in 1943. At Dusk is a book about a man who was a very poor man. Park Min-wo is his name, is a success story from being a very poor man when he was born. He sort of is now the director of an architectural firm, and his company is investigated for corruption, and he's forced to reconsider his role. And at the same time, he receives an unexpected message from an old friend, a woman that he once loved and then betrayed. As memories return unbidden, Min-wo recalls a world he thought had been left behind, a world he now understands that he has helped to destroy. Sounds very interesting. South Korea is a country that I'm very interested in, and it's on my bucket list. I've said that before, of travel. So I hope to travel to South Korea one of these years, hopefully. And I'm looking forward to read this book with Katja. From the library here in Stockholm, I still have Jonathan Coe's novel Middle England, which is a book about Brexit. You know that I've read Mr. Wilder and Me by Jonathan Coe, and this book is about Brexit, is about families in Middle England. 8 years ago, begins on the outskirts of Birmingham, where car factories have been replaced by Poundland in London, where frenzied riots give way to Olympic fever. 2012 is the time. Middle England follows a brilliantly vivid cast of characters through a time of immense change. There are newlyweds Ian and Sophie who disagree about the future of the country and possibly the future of their relationship. Duck, the political commentator who writes impassionate columns about austerity from his Chelsea townhouse, and his radical teenage daughter who will stop at nothing in her quest for social justice. Benjamin Trotter, who embarks on an apparently doomed new career in middle age, and his father Colin, whose last wish is to vote in the European referendum. And within all these lives is the story of modern England, a story of nostalgia and delusion, of bewilderment and barely suppressed rage. Middle England seems to be an important novel about Brexit. The second one that I want to read from the library is also about 400 pages long. It's a Swedish translation of a French book. It's a book that won the Dublin Literary Award this year. It was published in French in 2017 with the original title of L'Art de Perdre. The English title would be The Art of Losing, and the Swedish title is Konsten att förlora by the young French author Alice Zeniter, born in 1986. That's Alice, who has gotten amazing reviews about this book, which is a book about 3 generations of Algerian French people, both in Algeria and then in France, about colonialism, about France today, and about the art to lose. Konsten att förlora. And the last one that I have from the library, which would be, my God, already number 6 on the list, is a book that I was pointed towards by Kehinde Andrews. You know, if you've seen my channel, you know that I did a single review about Kehinde Andrews' non-fiction book, The New Age of Empire, about colonialism and racism that still rules the world. And in that book, there's a lot of reference to Malcolm X. And there's also a hint and even quotes from the very famous speech, The Ballad or the Bullet, that Malcolm X gave in the early 1960s. And so I thought I have to learn more about Malcolm X, because I was fascinated. I read the speech on the internet. I was fascinated by the speech, by its rhetoric, but also by its truth, actually. I picked up The Dead Are Arising by Les Payne and Tamara Payne. Les Payne is an American historian who researched almost for 30 years the life of Malcolm X, but then almost finished with the book. He passed away, and his daughter Tamara took over and finished the book for her father. Sadly, this book, with Les not living till the day, this book won the National Book Award of 2020 for Best Nonfiction, and it's a book about a very important man in American history, Malcolm X. The Dead Are Arising. So I'm very courageous. 8 books would be like a new record, and I don't, well, actually, it's not realistic that I will finish 8 books in July, but I will try. I will give my best, and then we'll see what happens. Number 7 is a book that arrived actually today. And I would offer this also as a buddy read if somebody wants to read it with me. It was published in June, about 2 weeks ago, by the author of the National Book Award finalist of like 3 years ago, Fajardo Anstine from Denver, Colorado. And it's her first novel, which is called Woman of Light. And I got it in the mail as late as today. If you want to read this with me, please drop me a note, because I will start with the other books, and I have like 2 weeks or so at least until I will get to this one, Woman of Light. I loved her short stories, Sabrina and Corina, about indigenous Chicano people in the American West. And also this book is definitely dealing with population of indigenous people in the American West. It's about Luz Little Light Lopez, a tea leaf reader and laundress, is left to fend for herself after her older brother Diego is run out of town by a violent white mob. As Luz navigates 1930s Denver, she begins to have visions that transport her to her indigenous homeland in the nearby Lost Territory. Luz recollects her ancestors' origins, how her family flourished, and how they were threatened. She bears witness to the sinister forces that have devastated her people and their homelands for generations. In the end, it's up to Luz to save her family's stories from disappearing into oblivion, written with the beautiful voice of Fajardo Anstine. Please leave me a note if you want to read this with me. This would be book number 7, if I make it up to number 7. And I have also one book on my Kindle, which is a non-fiction. I tried to finish the ARCs that I got from NetGalley, and there's a book from NetGalley that I still have to read, and I have started reading it a couple of pages in, which is called Americanaland, Where Country and Western Met Rock and Roll. Music and American Life by John Milward and Margie Grieve, published by University of Illinois Press in 2021 in June. And this book is about Americana music. I am a great fan of Americana music, and it's actually a new genre. I didn't know that the word Americana came by first in the 1990s, was coined in the 1990s to describe a bunch of artists, people like Emmylou Harris, like Steve Earle, like his late son Justin Townes Earle, people like Jason Isbell, people like Gretchen Peters, who are doing music that sounds country, but that really isn't country because it's maybe too deep. Because when I listen to country music, which I had a fable for when I was a teenager, I always think that the lyrics are not especially deep, which is very different from if you listen to Gretchen Peters, for example, if you listen to Jason Isbell, his beautiful song, If We Were Vampires, and people like Johnny Cash and Ray Charles even earlier, before the term Americana was coined. There was one definition that I saw already in the beginning of the book, that someone has said or written that Americana is country for Democrats. I don't know. I'm not American, I don't know, but I know there's a difference, and I know also that Americana has a wide range of different kinds of music and of artists underneath its roof, but I like the music very much and I want to read about it, and that's why I'm reading Americanaland. It says here it's essential and engaging, it chronicles the evolution and resonance of this ever-changing amalgam of American music. These are the 8 books that I aim to read in July. Wish me luck, and join me if you want to. Join me in reading Woman of Light by Fajardo Anstine. Thanks very much for watching this. I hope that you are reading very beautiful books in July, that you have some days and some weeks maybe off in July. Love to know what you are reading in the month of July. What is on your TBR? Please tell me in the comments down below. If you are a returning subscriber to the channel, I thank you so much. If you are new to the channel, if you think, quite okay, please click, I think it's here, click on the subscribe button down below. You help me so much. For today, I wish you all the best, and I see you on Sunday with a Sunday sum up. Until then, bye bye.